The Galactic Council's fleet loomed over Earth, poised to reduce the planet to smoldering rubble if humanity did not submit to alien rule within 24 hours, while Thule, the Cardassian fleet commander, urged an immediate attack. The Council restrained him, underestimating human ingenuity and will to survive. The panic. Global turmoil and panic erupted as the alien ultimatum reached Earth. Riots raged, people fled cities in droves, and militaries mobilized, bracing for the alien assault. Besieged by demands for action, the U.S. president summoned an eccentric recluse, brilliant physicist Dr. Darren Webb. The proposal. The disheveled, wild-eyed Webb burst into the Situation Room and slapped down blueprints for a ludicrous superweapon he had secretly designed, a skyscraper-sized railgun built into the moon itself, capable of slinging continent-crushing slugs at relativistic speeds. The skepticism. Jaws dropped. The Joint Chiefs scoffed. "It's this or annihilation, Mr. President," Webb said gravely. "Those alien bastards won't know what hit them." The construction. With the doomsday clock ticking, a desperate president convinced world leaders to set aside squabbles and throw resources into the insane moon gun scheme. Construction ships blasted moonward, crammed with workers and equipment. Lunar colonies became frenzied anthills as engineers bored tunnels, welded gargantuan structures, and jury-rigged power reactors with reckless abandon. The moment of truth. As Judgment Hour arrived, humanity collectively held its breath. 7 billion souls united in terror and fragile hope, every eye fixed on the completed lunar railgun now aimed squarely at the Cardassian armada skulking at the fringes of the solar system. The firing. In mission control, a grim president nodded to Dr. Webb. Webb's finger hovered over a large red button. "For Earth," he whispered and pushed it. A thunderous boom echoed through the lunar base as Webb smacked his palm on the button. The railgun hummed to life, power surging from the moon's core through immense superconducting cables. Capacitors crackled with barely contained energy until the barrel crackled with blue lightning. The impact. On the bridge of the Cardassian flagship, Thule sneered at the distant moon, not comprehending the danger. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted from the lunar surface as a nickel-iron asteroid burst forth at incomprehensible speed, crossing the void in seconds. Thule's eyes widened in disbelief as the projectile punched through the fleet's shields like they weren't even there. The asteroid obliterated a third of the ships in a silent explosion that hurled molten shrapnel in all directions, shredding hulls and ending countless lives. The celebration. Cheers rang out in mission control as the first image of the devastation reached Earth. Crowds in the streets hugged and wept with relief, daring to believe they might survive. But Webb and the leaders knew it was nowhere near the end. The relentless assault. The reload. "Get that gun, reloaded now." Webb barked at the engineers. "They'll be coming for us with everything they have left." The retaliation. Thule pounded his fist on the arm of his chair, purple blood dripping from a cut on his forehead. "All ships converge on that weapon and destroy it at any cost." His voice shook with rage and humiliation. The Cardassian fleet surged forward, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. The defense. The railgun fired again and again, each shot vaporizing multiple ships, but the faster human weapon couldn't track every target. The aliens closed in, raining fire on the lunar fortifications and Earth itself. Cities crumbled under the onslaught, fire and rubble filling the streets. The struggle. The lunar bases shuddered as antimatter bombs pummeled the surface, breaching domes and spilling defenders into the vacuum. Webb's hands flew over the controls, desperately trying to adapt the railgun's targeting to the alien attack patterns. He pored over screens of telemetry, searching for any weakness to exploit. The revelation. Then it hit him. The Cardassians used strict geometric formations, as if unable to break from doctrine, even in the face of annihilation. "I've got it," Webb shouted. "Feed these coordinates to the gun now." The precision. The railgun responded, its shots becoming uncannily precise as it predicted the enemy's movements. Alien ships vanished by the dozen, turned to clouds of plasma before they could even react. The desperation. On his flagship's smoking bridge, Thule gazed at the tactical displays in numb horror as the human weapon tore through his fleet. "Concentrate all fire on that railgun," he screamed, ramming speed. The final stand. The Cardassian ships hurtled forward, heedless of the mounting losses, charging headlong at the moon. The space around the moon became a cauldron of destruction as Cardassian ships dueled with human fighters and automated defenses. The railguns swept back and forth, annihilating whole squadrons, but the aliens kept coming. The catastrophic sacrifice. The catastrophe. Firing solution locked. Webb called out as the railgun hummed with barely restrained power. On the screen, the massed Cardassian fleet loomed terrifyingly close. At that moment, a dozen alien ships broke through and launched a salvo of pulsing antimatter torpedoes. The projectile slammed into the railgun's immense barrel. For an instant, nothing happened. Then a sun-bright fireball consumed the mass driver, hurling molten fragments in all directions. The impact. The railgun convulsed, launching its asteroid off into the void before breaking apart completely, scattering jagged shards across the lunar landscape. Thule roared in triumph, but his victory was short-lived. His flagship, torn apart by railgun hits and leaking atmosphere, shuddered and kicked as Earth's gravity caught hold of the hulk. Consoles exploded in showers of sparks, and crewmen screamed as the crippled vessel tumbled toward fiery oblivion. The aftermath. Webb pulled himself from the rubble of the shattered control room, blinking in the harsh light reflecting off the moon's surface. He stumbled to a viewport and stared numbly at the sky full of falling stars. The burning wrecks of Cardassian ships raining down on Earth. The silence. All around him. The other survivors stood in stunned silence, watching the terrible beauty of their Pyrrhic victory. They had done the impossible and destroyed an alien armada, but the cost had been staggering. The realization. Webb swallowed hard as he watched the Cardassian flagship disappear into the atmosphere, knowing its death would bring retribution upon them all. The war was far from over. The fight for humanity's survival had only just begun. The counteroffensive. The plan. Webb stared at the smoking ruins of Earth's cities through the cracked viewport. Fires still raged in the distance, casting an eerie glow over the devastated landscape. We won the battle, but at what cost? He muttered, turning to face the grim-faced leaders gathered in the makeshift war room. The determination. General Hawkins smacked his hand on the table. Those alien bastards will be back, and we're in no shape to stop them. The resolve. Webb's eyes glinted with a dangerous light. Then we take the fight to them first. He pulled up a holographic display, fingers dancing across the controls. A pulsing red dot appeared orbiting a distant moon. This is their main supply depot in the sector. We hit it hard. We buy Earth time to rebuild. The preparation. The room erupted in skeptical murmurs. Admiral Chen spoke up. With what ship? Our fleet is in tatters. The adaptation. Webb grinned, a hint of madness in his expression. We use theirs. The Phoenix. Hours later, Webb stood before the mangled hulk of the crashed Cardassian flagship. Sparks flew as welders scrambled over its surface, grafting human tech onto alien metal. How's she looking, Rodriguez? Webb called out to his chief engineer. The sacrifice. Rodriguez wiped sweat from his brow. She'll fly, but I wouldn't bet my life on her lasting more than one trip. The launch. Webb clapped him on the shoulder. Then we'd better make it count. The infiltration. The infiltration. As the final preparations were made, Webb didn't notice the shadowy figure slipping aboard the newly christened Phoenix. Fulai, battered but alive, crept through the ship's corridors, a savage gleam in his alien eyes. The departure. The Phoenix lifted off with a groan of protesting metal. Webb gripped the arms of the captain's chair, willing the patchwork vessel to hold together. Beside him, his brother Jake manned the weapons console, face set in unwavering determination. The ambush. They were nearing the Kardashian base when alarms blared. Thule burst onto the bridge, flanked by a handful of surviving Kardashian soldiers. "This ship is mine, human filth," Thule snarled, leveling an alien weapon at Webb's head. The struggle. Jake leaped into action, tackling one of the Kardashians. The bridge erupted into chaos as human and alien grappled for control. Outside, Kardashian fighters swarmed toward the Phoenix like angry hornets. The ship rocked under their first volley of fire. The desperation. Webb ducked behind a console, frantically working the ship's controls while dodging energy blasts. "Jake, we need those guns online now." The sacrifice. Jake, locked in a life-or-death struggle with Thule, grunted, "Bit busy here, bro." The decision. The situation looked hopeless. Then Jake's eyes met Webb's, a silent understanding passing between them. "For Earth," Jake whispered. He lunged at Thule, tackling the Kardashian leader through an open hatch. Both disappeared into the bowels of the ship. The victory. Webb howled in anguish, but forced himself to focus. He brought the Phoenix's guns to bear on the supply depot and opened fire. The base erupted in a series of spectacular explosions. Webb punched the engines to full, leaving devastation in his wake as they fled back to Earth. The cost. Webb slumped in his chair, the weight of victory and loss crushing down on him. They'd bought Earth a chance, but the price had been far too high. The galactic response. The outrage. Little did Webb know, an even greater threat loomed in the halls of the Galactic Council. Outraged voices clamored for action against the upstart humans. The gears of bureaucracy ground into motion, assembling a fleet that would dwarf anything Earth had yet faced. The defense. Webb gazed at the battered blue marble of home, knowing the hardest fights still lay ahead. Somehow, he had to unite a fractured world to face the storm that was coming. The preparation. The Galactic Council chamber erupted in chaos as news of the human attack spread. Counselors pounded their fists on ornate desks, shouting demands for retribution. The Kardashian representative, his face twisted in rage, stood and addressed the assembly. "These primitives dare strike at us. We must crush them utterly." The vote. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The council president called for order, his amplified voice booming over the din. "We will vote on the matter of Earth, all in favor of total war." Every appendage in the room shot up without hesitation. The response. Back on Earth, Webb pored over intel reports in a makeshift war room. His face fell as he absorbed the gravity of the situation. "Damn it, we needed more time," he muttered. The intel. An aide burst in, breathless. "Sir, we've intercepted Kardashian communications. They're mobilizing everything they have against us." The final gamble. The plan. Webb's mind raced. Earth's defenses were in shambles, its military decimated. He turned to the grim-faced leaders around him. "We hit them hard, but it's not enough. We need to strike again, buy ourselves some breathing room." He outlined his audacious plan, pointing to holographic star charts. Kardashia Prime, their throne world. If we can destroy their superweapon research, we might stand a chance. The preparation. Skeptical looks met his words, but no one had a better idea. Days later, Webb crouched in the hold of a captured Kardashian scout ship. Around him, Earth's best soldiers and engineers checked weapons and equipment. The infiltration. The vessel shuddered as it dropped out of warp above Kardashia Prime. "Stealth systems holding," the pilot reported. "We're through the outer defenses." They touched down in an industrial sector. As the team disembarked, alarms began to blare. Webb cursed. Their window of surprise was closing fast. The battle. "Move, move, move," he shouted. The streets erupted in firefights as Kardashian security forces converged. Human commandos ducked behind rubble, exchanging fire with the alien troops. The objective. Webb led a small group toward the research facility, plasma bolts sizzling past his head. They blasted their way inside, fighting room to room. The device. In the central lab, Webb's eyes widened at the sight of a massive device crackling with dark energy. "Plant the charges," he ordered. "We've got to overload this thing." The climax. As his engineers worked frantically, waves of Cardassian soldiers poured in. Webb and the others laid down suppressing fire, but they were badly outnumbered. The facility rocked with explosions. Antimatter containment alarms shrieked through the chaos. The showdown. Through the smoke strode a familiar figure, Thulai, battered but alive, his eyes burning with hatred. "Webb," he roared, "you'll die here, human." The duel. The two leaders clashed in furious hand-to-hand combat as the facility crumbled around them. Webb landed a crushing blow, sending Thulai sprawling. "It's over," Webb panted. "Earth lives to fight another day." The escape. He sprinted for the exit as the reactors went critical. The human strike team piled into their ship, lifting off as a blinding explosion consumed the facility. As they fled Cardassian space, Webb stared at the view screen, his expression grim. They'd won a victory, but the real fight was just beginning. Somehow, he had to unite a battered Earth against the full might of the galaxy bearing down upon them.